Hi Gemini, welcome. This is Taurus Tarot, and I'm Joy. And we're looking at the energy for the first 2 weeks of January. So January 1st to the 15th of this beautiful new year, 2020. Just as a reminder, this is a general reading. If you would like a personal reading, you can contact me at taurus@gmail.com. Okay, so let's get right into it. So as I was doing the pre-shuffle, some things that were coming up were that you are learning some new things about yourself. You're learning about ego, sort of, about your ego, about how your ego is not really you, how the persona or the role that you identify with is not really you, and that you are a much deeper being. And this learning is like critical for you. It is this new, and I think maybe on you know, for many of you, on some level, you've always kind of understood that on some level, and so whatever level it is that you have understood it at, you know, about ego and how you are not ego, you're coming to a deeper understanding, an even deeper understanding of of what you had before. Yeah. The Hierophant. Yeah, and so this understanding for you of ego in a new way, or in a more meaningful way, is really helping to bring more peace to your life. Really, more peace to your life. Yeah. Yeah, interesting feeling. Okay, so we have the Hierophant, and like, this is just kind of I feel like you are understanding that you are not just not the ego, but you are not the conditioning that was placed on you from, you know, time of birth, right? You are not the socioeconomic status of your family, you know, or of yourself. You are not you know, the level of education that you received. Your value, your your value is not based in any of these things, in you know, education or socioeconomic status, or marital status, or color, or age, or anything like that. Your value is not based in any of those things. Your value is based in the knowing that you are divine, that you are, you know, you are source itself. You know, you are source experiencing itself through you and your human existence. Yeah. And but you are not your body. You are not really, you are not even human. You know, I mean, of course you're human, but you know, that is not the entirety of you. Yeah, you're not just a, you know, body of various color, sex, or you know, look, or whatever. That is not you. What you are is an infinite spiritual being having a temporary human experience. That is what you are, Gemini. Okay. And you are beginning to really understand this more deeply, that you really are more than you could ever imagine, more than you ever thought you were, and ever thought you could be, just because you are. Just because you are, right? So you are really coming to a place of understanding that better. And, excuse me, it brings some real security into your life, some real stability, and it brings you to a place of feeling more grounded, yeah, feeling like you don't have to struggle, feeling like acceptance, yeah, feeling like whatever you are is okay, you know, wherever you are is okay. You don't need to be the you don't need to be success as your parents or your siblings or your friends or media may define it. You only need to be success as you define it, right? As what you feel is important, through what you feel is value or of value, you know? And that's what you're getting. You're getting this security in knowing that it's really only yourself that you need to prove anything to. And really, you don't even need to prove anything to yourself, but like, this is, it's a step away from feeling like you have to prove anything to anyone else in order to feel a sense of worth. Yeah, you're moving away from that, and you are fully understanding that yeah, that you are enough. Okay, and it really is allowing you to take steps in directions that you never really would have thought possible for yourself, or never would have imagined to be possible for yourself. This feeling of letting go of ego, of letting go of expectations put on you by other people, and I don't think you're quite at that place of releasing your own expectations of yourself, but you're definitely in a place where you're realizing that it only your opinion really matters when it comes down to it. Yeah, that that when you do things, you need to do them for yourself, not for anyone else, and not to, you know, gain the favor of anyone else, but only to gain favor of yourself, only so that you you know, feel like it's in your control, it's of your choosing. Yeah, okay. But I also feel that there is not a warning, but there is also an acknowledgement that you're still a Gemini. You're still you still go back and forth. You're still both sides at once. You're still, you know, you choose one thing and then immediately change your mind, or you say one thing and then completely contradict yourself, and not because you're trying to like be tricky or get away with anything or anything like that, but like because almost because like you always see both sides. And so you could see the perspective of both sides. And so making a choice about something, about which way to go, or what path to follow, is difficult for you sometimes. And that is perfectly okay. It's perfectly okay. I think the important thing for you right now is like the awareness of it. Yeah, the awareness of your thoughts, and where you stand in life, and what matters to you. And then being aware of those things and understanding that as you gain greater clarity, things will start to make more sense to you. Okay, and decision making will become easier. Knowing what path exactly it is that you want to take will become easier. But it's almost like the first step is really this letting go of ego, of conditioning, of thoughts and ideas that really just no longer serve you. Yeah, I always feel like dogma from this card. I always feel like religious dogma from this card. I always feel like religious dogma is like, okay, you have to listen to it because God said, right? Or you have to do it because God said, or because your parents said, and God said you gotta obey your parents. That's kind of like, religious dogma. You're not questioning it at all. You're not contemplating. You're not considering different ideas. You are just believing just because you were told to do it, kind of thing, right? And that's how I really see conditioning, right? Conditioning is like, you are not making conscious choices about really believing certain things, but your experiences through this conditioning process of life is really subconsciously forming patterns and frameworks of thought, right? That you may not necessarily be aware of. And it is extremely, extremely important to be aware of your patterns of thought or your frameworks, because this is your lens, your framework, your patterning, your conditioning. This is your lens through which you experience life. Okay, so if your framework is jacked up in some way, if you've got some things in there that are not healthy, you are gonna see your world in unhealthy ways, right? Because your framework is what is coloring your perspective. Okay, so if your framework is messed up, your perspective is gonna be messed up, right? So that's why it's important to really consider things, right? Contemplate things. Be aware of your thoughts and your thought processes. Consider them, contemplate them, try and understand where those thoughts came from, why you think the way you think, what were your experiences that led you to hold those or form and hold those beliefs, and question all of that and look at all of that very deeply, in order to let go of the beliefs, the patterning, the framework that really does not serve you. Yeah. So maybe your pattern thinking is of, I can't think of an example, but I'm being driven to share my own experience, which is my first relationship, right, with my father, with a male figure in my life, was one that made me feel rejected and abandoned. And so what I realized, that my future relationships, right, with males was being experienced through a framework, a pattern of thinking of rejection and abandonment. So on a subconscious level, I was seeking out what I understood relationship with a male to be, which was rejection and abandonment, right? And on a, on an intellectual level, of course I didn't want that in my life, right? But on a very subconscious level that I wasn't even aware of until recently, I was actually seeking out rejection and abandonment. Okay. And so, those are the things that you need to be aware of, because if I'm seeking out rejection and abandonment, then chances are that's exactly what I'm going to find in my relationships. Right. And so now, being conscious of this, I am able to, engage in relationships and realize when I am acting out of fear of rejection and abandonment, or when I am, projecting, those feelings or that kind of thing. Yeah. And it helps. It helps to be aware of that, because now I feel like I can move forward in um, relationships that are not based in rejection and abandonment, and based in something, much deeper and much more profound. Yeah. um so this is, this is huge. This is huge for you. This is really leading you um to a really good place. Yeah, to a really good place, that is going to make you feel confident, make you feel confident in your decisions and in who you are, and how you choose to live your life and experience life. It's really good, hugely good, hugely good, hugely good, and balanced and stable, and nurturing. Okay. Whew, yeah, Gemini, feels really nice. Feels like some release, feels like some next level stuff. So, um, I hope you enjoyed it, and best wishes for this 2020. It is going to be absolutely awesome. So, aloha, I love you. Namaste.